This is a part of what makes the game approachable for players that aren't just like Giga God gamers and older boomers, which like MMOs more, is the really simple combat system and the fact that you can hard counter people. Even if you're terrible at the game and were born with 4 fingers and everyone else has 6 more fingers than you and just can play better, it doesn't really matter because you can build, like because of the way you can customize your builds, you can still be relevant in PvP and you can still like tank really hard and kill people depending on what build you go. You just gotta be a phone. You gotta think. Throne and Liberty is ruining my life 5 days ago. All right, let's see it, Stoopzz. I'm curious what his opinion is because he plays Lost Ark regularly and he hates himself for it. I play Black Desert regularly and just can't get out of that abusive relationship. So, like, I have my opinion on things, but Lost Ark is the other MMO that has best in genre combat, right? Lost Ark and Black Desert are the two, like, best combat MMOs that you're going to be able to find, right?
Guys, it's been a while, but I thought it'd be fitting to make a review video on Throne and Liberty as the official launch will be taking place tomorrow. It is currently...
I should do this too. I should record this and then, like, force Note to do all the work for me. I just voice over it and then let him fill in all this other shit.
Monday evening. I have been playing this game a shit ton. In fact, I have played this game through almost every stage of its development. And I want to be very clear with this video. It is not aimed at trying to really persuade anyone that's on the edge or some...
Oh my God, stop being a pussy, Stoopzz. Yes, it is. That's what these videos are designed for. These videos are designed to target players that are like, I don't know, the combat's like mid, but like if a creator that I know that plays the game that I like recommends it, then sure, I'll give it a go. That's exactly what these are for.
One that has really no interest in playing this game because
yeah,
I truly believe that this MMO is for a specific type of player. And so in this video, I want to explain what I mean by that. And so again, it is
PvP players that like group content in MMOs. Throne and Liberty is incredibly good. Incredibly good. For PvE players that like solo content, keep playing Black Desert, you losers.
Is Monday evening. The early access started Thursday, and at this current point in time of recording, I have around 66 hours in the game, which is probably a little bit too much.
I don't know how much
but I do
have.
feel like I am qualified to at least discuss on the experience I've had so far in the game. Now, I'll be going over several categories for this.
Yeah, I've got 110 right now.
Review. You can find timestamps down listed below so you can skip around on the parts that you're interested in. Now, the first thing that I want to touch on is the game feel. This is something that I experienced playing Throne the first time that I touched the game. It has improved.
Yo, hit level 50. What do I do to get into dungeon groups? Party recruitment ain't it. Make friends, you loser. Yep. So get into a guild and then force the healers to do dungeons with you. You're gonna be fine. Love you, buddy. Stoopzz not wrong. When I first saw this in like early alpha or whatever, yeah, the game, I was like, I'm never playing that. That looks like garbage. If I do play it, I'm going to farm it for content.
Improved tremendously. It is miles better than it used to be. Despite that, anyone that touches the game, you're going to have to try it yourself. It just has this weird, sluggish feeling to it. They specifically improved the inertia of the game, which was my first complaint over a year ago, that just the movement felt a bit off, and now it is a lot better. Despite that, it's still...
I don't feel the inertia problem really badly, but that's probably because Black Desert had a serious inertia problem for a while. If you wanted to get your Guardian to move in a direction, you had to prepare yourself for the wait. Like, you literally hit A, and the Guardian very slowly started moving like $1 million man. It was insane. It took forever, and then they eventually took it out.
Still feels a little off. It does improve over time. You'll hear a lot of people saying that the feel of the game gets better as your character gets more powerful. You get better stats. That has to do with the combat, but there is just this off feeling when you're playing the game. Some of that has to do with the desync. There is a lot of desync that exists in the game, whether it's due to ping or just the game.
No. Respectfully disagree. My sweet child, you merely adopted desync. I was born in it, molded by it. Let me show you desync. Let me show you desync. Let's see desync, chat.
I'm gonna fucking want, dude.
Every once in a while, I watch this to remind me how much better it is. Remember. Okay. Desync and BDO, worst shit you're ever going to deal with. He's not wrong. There is desync in Throne of Liberty. But in my opinion, I'm comparing it to like the most desyncy lagfest shitstorm that I've been dealing with for the last 6 or 7 years. What desync, bro?
game's engine. I think it's baked into the game. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting stuck on a cliff and you're porting back and forth. That's been there forever. Sometimes you catch yourself gliding while casting a skill. Sometimes you initiate on a player and you teleport back and then reconnect due to just the desync of the game. And that is something I'm not sure if they're going to be able to fix, but
I feel like that's probably more of a server problem than anything else. And I don't really feel like there is desync. He's not wrong. I've definitely had it happen to me. It's very frustrating, but like it's not nearly as bad as BDO is. Like it's probably just not as prevalent for me.
It is something that I think everyone will notice when playing Throne of Liberty.
Duncan, true. Hey, from Naraka to email feels pretty good for me. Shut the f up, bro. Naraka's got like 0 desync. It's frame perfect. Young literally bitch because it's like 3 frames were not like registered correctly. And oh, well, it's bullshit. Fuck, you have no idea. I've been watching a PowerPoint presentation since 2017. Okay, Naraka is butter smooth. Butter smooth.
For the first time.
Love you, buddy. Can we get a shout out for Duncan?
Reason I started with the game feel is I do believe a lot of that also has to do with the terrible default settings that the game provides. I'm not sure why it is this way, but when you're playing the game, you really have to go through the settings and adjust it to your liking. There's a lot of customization there, so you can really alter the way the game feels based on your personal preference, but there are so many settings by default that are enabled that I would say are not tailored towards a Western.
Yeah, that's kind of rough, bro. Like, what do? You know, he saw it in post and he was like, bro, do I go back and re-record the whole video? Could just send it. They're one of me anyway. These are my people.
Audience. One of these settings is auto move within range to attack target. That means if you click on a target and you activate a skill, it will auto run you to the target, which was how it was when I first played the game, which is very mobile like. Now, this might be something that you personally enjoy, but I think having that by default is definitely going to add to that weird clunky feeling that the game provides. So I obviously turned that off. Another one that is not there by default is auto target nearest enemy when attacking without a target. And a lot of other MMOs, if you activate a skill when nearby an enemy, it will auto use that skill on.
Can I get a link for that? You mean the pillow? Yeah, man, it's right here. Ask for Deborah. She's great. If it's after 6 p.m. Central, ask for Pete. Seek Christ. Oh wait, this is the wrong. This is the same. This is why we're not playing video. Okay, as we were
on the enemy, so you don't have to click them. And sometimes targeting enemies in this game can feel a bit off due to the targeting settings that you have to go through and adjust yourself.
Even if you adjust the settings, I feel like the targeting is kind of wonky. Maybe I just don't have my settings perfect yet, but damn, the targeting can be kind of wonky in this game. And it takes some getting used to.
However, if I walk up to this target, which you won't have by default, and press a skill, it will auto use that skill and auto target the mob or the player, making it so much easier to connect as a melee player. And sometimes you get this feeling that you just can't reach the target. There are a lot of things that are like that.
This dude has BIS weapons on? How much has Stoopzz spent? Oh, wait. I forgot. Bro, Stoopzz started the game, got through the whole main story, and then decided he wanted to swap weapons. Okay. Minus $1,000. Get fucked, loser. Like, this dude has spent a fortune.
That exist in the game, despite if you have a
He's
ton of
cooked.
experience playing MMOs,
He's
it's just
cooked,
not
bro.
clear to you why you're being CC'd, or it's not clear to you why you're not able to reach the target or attack the target. The game doesn't do an amazing job at giving you that feel why you can or cannot do something. And with the desync, all of that, I believe, in combination creates that feeling of like clunkiness that players describe when nation cannot do something. And with the
Even like right here, watch this.
desync, all
He's targeting this player right here.
of that, I
And
believe.
this player walks out of range like this. I don't know about you guys. When I turn my camera to look at this player right here, I want it to retarget that player. And instead, what the game does is it just stays on this, and your character will just keep casting in that direction, even though you're focusing on it. It's really annoying. That is
in combination creates that feeling of like clunkiness that players describe when talking about Throne and Liberty. And that really brings me to my next point, which is the early game
Oh,
of
he's playing a girl. She, her, guys. She, her.
Throne. When I first played this game, the early game was atrocious. I don't actually know how I made it through the early game and played for as long as I did, but I did because I just wanted to keep going. And as I played through,
I was going to say, I know how you made it through it. Money. It's good content. It was so bad. It was good. For you, not for them. It was garbage. Money.
through the game, it got
Now, that being said, the early leveling systems in Throne and Liberty, really good. Really solid. I think it does a good job of showing you how to use your skills and interact with the menus and stuff. It does not at all, however, teach you how to upgrade your gear or like put traits on stuff. Like, it doesn't teach you any of that stuff. It just leaves you in the dark. So like half of it is good. And then the other half I would say is just like, yikes, bro. What the
a lot better. Nowadays, the early game is significantly better, and that is due to really how many skills they provide you by default in the intro experience. They've also altered the way the early game works, how much experience you need, how you level, how you progress has improved tenfold. Despite that, I do believe that Throne is one of the classic cases that the game improves as you play. And I know a lot of people may not make it through that intro experience despite it being a lot better than it used to be. In terms of the
name a video game where players who are trying to encourage you to play the game do not describe it as it gets better as you play. It gets better at late game. It gets better in mid game. It's like you're trying to teach your new friend how to play a game. League of Legends, perfect example. You're trying to teach your new friend how to play League of Legends because you doing drugs was not enough. You had to drag everyone else down with you. Okay. You're trying to teach your new friend how to play League of Legends and they're just not having fun. And you say, no, it gets better later. Knowing full well that it does not, in fact, improve later. The descent into madness only gets worse. But you told him that anyway. Okay. Most players nowadays don't give a shit if it gets better later. If they're not captivated in the first 5 hours or so, they're gone. Usually it's in the first 2 hours. They're gone. And that's just how it goes. That being said, I do think that Throne does a good job of kind of capturing you in that first 2 hours.
The leveling progression, I would say it's pretty straightforward. You follow the MSQ, you get a tremendous amount of experience through the MSQ, and when you run out of the MSQ or the game tells you need to continue to level before you can continue doing the MSQ, you will then go do exploration quests, which are side quests within the area that also give you a lot of experience. Sometimes the quest can be a little confusing. Sometimes you're unsure of how to complete the quest, but I wouldn't say it's the
If you want my honest feedback, eliminate all that side questing and just make it the main story. I did not like doing the side quest. Every time I got to the side quests, I was like, ugh. Okay, fine. I would rather just focus on the main story and just drill through that. I hated the side questing stuff.
Most difficult leveling experience I've experienced in an MMO, but personally, I really enjoyed going through the leveling experience. And that brings us to the next category or
That's Kappa
section. And
the main story was great, and I enjoyed, well, it was terrible, but the narrator was awesome. The narrator, you could speedrun the whole thing and the narrator would give you the cliff notes. It was amazing. It was awesome in that regard. Okay. But like the story itself was like, whatever. It wasn't as gripping as WoW, or Final Fantasy, or even Guild Wars from my understanding. But like, it's better than BDO, which that bar is like impossibly low. Way down there. You'd have to dig.
And that is the world feel of Throne and the visuals of the game. The world feel and visuals of this game, in my opinion, are top notch. As far as the engine of the game, it runs on Unreal Engine 4. Currently, I'm in Vienta and I have 144 frames per second. I have a pretty decent PC, but
I think Lost Ark's graphics look a little stronger. The problem is you can't look off into the distance and see more. So like in some aspects, Throne and Liberty is stronger, and in some aspects, Lost Ark is stronger. It's just like with Black Desert. Black Desert, Throne and Liberty does win out because its optimization is way better. As a game, you don't have to turn down the game to get better FPS so that you can do more DPS. Like in Black Desert, you can just keep it at epic all the time. Also, there's not that weird pop-in issue.
for an Unreal Engine 4 game, I would say the game looked...
But like if you zoom in on your character, there's not nearly as much detail as Lost Ark or Black Desert, in my opinion. Like, so like these close-up micro graphics, it's just not it. But like if you look at a distance, they look pretty good.
Pretty damn good. And
Lost Ark is a beautiful world presented in a nice way. I don't like the top down in Lost Ark. I like to be able to look around my surroundings. I don't really like. But aside from that, Lost Ark, great game.
More importantly, the game feels alive, and that's due to how they have the world set up. First of all, you're on these isolated servers for most activities, at least currently, and you see players all over the game that you've seen in the past. I'm constantly interacting and seeing players that I've played with in dungeons.
This is really good retention. This is what the we're still peaking at 265,000 in Throne and Liberty 2 weeks after early access, or about 2 weeks or so. Like, that is insane, bro, considering they're only 336k was like the all-time peak when the game actually launched on October 1st. Like, wow, dude. It is a good game, yeah.
Grouped up with, and that really provides that old school MMORPG feeling that you don't get in a lot of other MMOs.
I cannot wait to see you fast forward a month, 2 months. Where are the numbers, right? Like, because I'm expecting like 30k. Like, bro, if we're above 50, 60,000, that's insane. For an MMO, that's a crazy amount of players.
There aren't these shards and phases. You do have these bosses, these world bosses that open up and you kind of separate, and that's reduce some lag, but it's nothing that you'll find.
Really? Wait. Oh my God. We didn't even peak on launch day. We peaked 2 days ago. What the f***? Name an MMO that has been out for a week already that is still pulling more players a week after its launch. What? That's insane. Holy shit. The game is good.
And in like World of Warcraft, for example, the world feel and how the activities are set up across the world are fantastic. It's definitely one of the strong suits of the game. So if that's something that's important to you and that's something that you like as an MMORPG player, you can find a lot of that in Throne and Liberty for sure. With that being said,
the events are what I think are going to net players in long term. Right now, we're in a rush for endgame gear and everybody's trying to get their gear together and stuff. And that'll last for a month or two. But I think long term, like a year from now, I think what people are really going to enjoy most about Throne and Liberty are the dynamic world events that happen like every hour. So there's always something for you to constantly be doing with your character. Even though you're at max gear, you can go out with your friends and there's a lot of different ways to interact with the world that way. I think that's what Throne and Liberty has going for it in the long term and what carries it. Right now, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people, and I said this before on the last video, a lot of people probably are overwhelmed by the amount of events in the game. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of events going on because there's so much shit going on. And you're like learning the game for the first time. But as things settle down, I think that we will appreciate the diversity.
Let's get into one of the more contested topics. That is going to be the combat in this game. Now, the combat has improved so much. It's been changed so many different times. The main feature that has been added, outside of just getting so many more skills, is going to be the skill specialization, which alters what your abilities just do in general.
I can't even imagine the game without skill specializations. I'm going to be honest with you. These make the game really interesting to me for two reasons. Number one, it makes the combat like really, really dynamic, but it also makes you it also gives you build diversity, right? It's like, okay, well, I kind of like having this skill specialization over this one, and like this one is really good, but this one's situational, right? It gives you diversity in your build path, which I think is really good for a game like Throne and Liberty, because it doesn't have the combat system. Let's be honest, it doesn't have the depth of Lost Ark. It doesn't have the depth of BDO, not even close. So like, where are you going to find that depth, that interest in a combat system? The skill specializations are a great choice for that. It's a great development path because like it helps people customize their character, right? Like they can't do in these other games.
General, you can transform a skill with a single point, placing it in a talent tree for each skill, and it will change the way the skill works, interact, and it also changes the name of the skill. You can freely change out of these. You have a limited amount of points that you can spend, and it allows for a ton of different builds that you didn't have previously, and I think it has improved the combat tremendously. I have a mobbing build when I'm AoE farming. I have a bossing build and a PvP build, and as far as the feel of the combat goes, it is definitely better than when I played it, you know, back on the Korea.
Coming from BDO, trying to find people to do dungeons is rough. Just join a guild, dude. In BDO, you don't have to join a guild. You can play solo player. Now you're starting to understand what a large scale MMO looks like. Just join a guild. You'll have a way better time finding dungeon groups. Okay? It's just that simple. You will also have more fun with the game. All right? I will say, though, that we discussed this last time. The co-op dungeons have a serious issue. Healers and tanks are not incentivized to do more than about 2 or 3 of the, 6 or 7 different dungeons that there are in the game, or 9 different dungeons, or whatever the. So like the queue times for the dungeons are really bad because like certain classes are just not incentivized to do those dungeons. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's a little rough.
In open beta, it's certainly better in terms of diversity of builds. It's certainly better in terms of gameplay feel. Is it on the level of something that you can find in an action MMORPG? Although this isn't purely tab target, absolutely not. You're not going to compare this to Black Desert Online if that's something that you really enjoy. If you're someone that loves playing Lost Ark and that is the only reason why you play Lost Ark in MMOs in general, it's not on that level. But for a tab target MMO with the right stats, it will feel pretty decent. It is a lot better than it used to be. One of the things that I would say is surprising is when you're doing these massive fights, the game handles itself pretty well in terms of the combat. Much of that can be attributed to the weapon system that I've touched on many times in the past. You have these different weapon combinations and you choose skills from the 2 weapons that you equip. You set up a loadout and you also have passives. And these,
I think that I'll be honest with you, I think the weapons is kind of a weak point for the game. I think the weapons determining your class is a super weak point for the game because then every class does not feel unique and like has its own theme and its own background and stuff. I think that part of the reason a lot of players like MMOs is like choosing their class is really fun. It's like something that they love to do at the start of the game. In Throne and Liberty, it just doesn't fit as well. In like Black Desert or Lost Ark, you have these clear, defined classes that you're like, oh, I really like Corsair. Or I really like Tamer, right? And they're 2 very different classes, right? Like, for example, Ninja and Tamer both use the same weapon, but are wildly different play styles and theming for their classes. And people love that. It helps you feel connected to the MMO. For the same reason that Riot has been very successful with League of Legends. Why do people love League of Legends so much? And why do they keep creating champions? It's because when they create champions, they're all unique and have custom themes and lore, and like they all appeal to different players. And the more champions they create, the wider player base they can have. Because the more players stick with their game because they found the champion that they really vibe with. You know what I mean? In Throne and Liberty, because you have this weapon system where you're constantly trading between weapons, even if you change from staff wand to staff dagger, you're still going to have the staff skills. So it's not a completely different identity. It's half different. It's half different. these make the classes kind of mesh together a little bit more. And in my opinion, it hurts the MMO overall because there's just not enough choices and diversity quite yet. But like, I'm hoping that over time it gets more diversity. I think there's a new weapon coming out soon in Korea, which is good. But like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if at any point it's going to have the diversity as something of what World of Warcraft or even, you know, BDO or anything. You know what I mean? Like, because you're just trading weapons out and you're just getting the skills from that weapon now. It just doesn't feel the same.
These two weapons often synergize with each other to create cool combinations, whether you're playing greatsword dagger, bow dagger, sword and shield greatsword, staff dagger, bow wand. There are all these different combinations that you can make, and these passives have a lot to do with that. Whether there's interactions based on CC, interactions based on standing still and getting more attack speed when you're playing a bow, and then using your daggers to teleport to the target but not breaking that movement requirement. There's a lot of cool things there that you can find within the weapon system and the combat system. But again, for someone that's strictly played action MMOs or someone that's played a lot of World of Warcraft, you're going to find something a bit more unique in the game, and it will take some time for the combat system to really come online, but it is definitely improved, and I find it for me to be quite enjoyable, specifically when doing PvP. And the place where you'll be using that combat system is in the content of the game. I mentioned PvP, but I actually want to touch on the PvE content first. Throne is specifically targeted towards more PvP oriented players, but there's actually a lot of PvE content, and much of the content you'll be doing on the daily, I'd say around 70% will be PvE content. You have your daily.
Yeah, but like the PvE, what makes Throne really good when you compare it to like another PvP MMO like Black Desert is that the PvE content also sometimes has an element of PvP in it. And even though PvP players are kind of unique in the MMO genre in that they like to play with other players as frequently as they can, even when they're grinding for their gains, right? Part of the reason they like PvP is because they get to bang out with their friends, right? Those players really love to be in voice like all the time. PvE players, they could prefer a little bit more of a solo approach. You know what I mean? Like, and in this game, there's not much solo gameplay going on. Like, the contracts are solo, but everything else is going to be like, okay, yeah, you're playing with other people, bro. You're not just like running around killing mobs by yourself for hours and hours and hours. It brings you together as players a lot more. I think that's just a win.
Daily contracts, which I've touched on in the past, which are just AoE grinding.
I think that it would bang if BDO make boss PvP like raids also in TNL. I think that BDO should have two bosses that spawn. Like if Kudum and Nuver spawn, one of them is a PvP boss and gives you 100% better loot. And the other one is a PvE boss and just is like, you know, the normal thing. I think that would help make world bosses a little bit more entertaining, right? You would also be encouraged to go on your main instead of just constantly just being there on an alt, right? World bosses are dead in BDO. In Throne and Liberty, it's like the heart of the game, right? Because you have to get the guild loot, and like you have to participate. Everyone has to be there. Like, everyone coming together for those world bosses is really important, whether it's peace or conflict. It doesn't really matter.
Spots where you go out and you kill mobs, you loot various items, and through doing those contracts, you'll receive mats that you'll use to upgrade your skills.
What's 100% of 0? Well, what if it dropped like 10 loot scrolls to the highest contributor during a PvP boss? What if it dropped like, you know, drop rate buffs for like 10 hours, you know, or some shit? Like actually good buffs at the PvP boss.
Upgrade your
1,000 cronstones.
Armor, craft various items, and you'll also receive contract tokens that you can
and then people could steal your loot if they kept you from getting the boss.
Spend, which will give you a lot of various goods in the game, like more of those ores that you might need, or trait extraction stones, which I'll touch on a little bit later. Now, for many of you, you're wondering if this is like a daily content you'll have to do well every day. The way it works in Throne for all of the daily content is it stacks up. Every day you log in the game, you refresh your contract points, you refresh your dungeon loot claims, your dungeon entries, and it can stack all the way up to 60, which is 60 quests. So if you want to wait all the way to the end of the week to do your contracts, you can. You can certainly miss them, but it allows you to save.
That's what I do. I save up one currency usually at a time, and then I just run that thing all day, and then I let the other currencies build up. And in this way, it doesn't feel to me like the game is like forcing me to do certain content. Like, because I hate chores and I hate time-gated content. So like by doing it this way, like my abyssal tokens, I did my dungeons yesterday. I did like 3,200 points worth of dungeons yesterday. Today I'm doing a lot of contracts. I'm just banging out a bunch of contracts. Tomorrow it'll be the open world dungeons again, right? And then I'll rotate back to the co-op dungeons. It's just fun.
Save these, and as long as you...
What if I don't log in every day? Well, then again, yeah, it's still perfect for you because you just stock them up. Every day you get 10 contracts and 3 co-op dungeon runs, and you can stack them up like, 5 times or 6 times.
You never overcap, you're not actually losing out on anything. That works the same for your daily dungeons. Every day you enter a dungeon, you'll spend 300 points, and every day you earn or receive 900 points. You can still do the dungeon if you have no tokens available, but in order to claim the loot, it's just like a lockout for the dungeon, you need to spend 300 tokens. This stacks all the way up to 4,500, essentially giving
so you get
you the entire week to do your dungeons at the very end of the week if you prefer, or you can do them day by day. You don't lose out again on anything as long as you never overcap. You'll be doing these dungeons for really powerful loot at a pretty low drop rate. Some of your best in slot items might be at a 5% drop rate. It's important.
Thank God I got my wand, bro. That's all I'm
To
gonna
note
say.
that it's not class specific loot either, meaning if you're playing a great sword dagger or a sword and shield great sword, you can still loot the bow. You'll probably
Guilds would war over bosses in BDO 2 if the drops were good enough. Like example, 1 in 3,000 chance of a rare crystal. Not 1 in 3,000, no. But like if you gave like 100 billion in guild funds to the guild that contributed the most damage to a PvP boss, that shit might go super hard. You know what I mean? Like BDO could take... That's the crazy thing about BDO is because it has a better combat fundamentally, and the graphics are like, there. And it has better character creation. They could just like implement some of TNL's stuff and just objectively destroy Throne and Liberty. Lost Ark could do similar things. They just don't want to.
Wondering why it is that way. I'll explain more when we get to the trait portion of the video, but it's something to keep in mind. Gear is hard to come by, but...
Is there a reason to do dungeons once you get your drops? Yeah, because you need to get them multiple times in a row. You need multiple different drops. It also gives you mastery for your weapons. The blue gear drops with traits that you need. Like, there's plenty of reasons. Even if you get all the best gear, okay, I gotta get it again and again and again. And then I gotta, like, there's definitely long-term aspects of it.
But it is very valuable
Carnic bow
and
first
it is
try.
very impactful.
Now go get it
Outside of
2
your
more
daily
times.
contracts and your dungeons, there are also world bosses that spawn regularly throughout the day. These bosses drop even better loot and is randomly distributed to the people that are participating. These items are very rare, are worth an absolute ton, and depending on if you're in a guild or not, can be distributed to guild members through various different methods, which I'll talk about a little bit later. You also have a timetable that goes throughout the entire day where various events will take place. Some of these events or bosses, these world bosses, are peaceful events, meaning there's no PvP. Some of them are also conflict or PvP focused. So if you don't want to do any PvP, you can attend events that are PvP-less, or you and your guild can contest for bosses that are PvP focused, or
Yeah, you can just do PvE oriented gameplay. You don't have to do PvP. I will say it does take away some from the game. You shouldn't be too scared to do... In Black Desert and Lost Ark, it can be really scary to do PvP because the skill ceiling on some of those classes in the combat is really high. And like, if you're a new player, you don't understand these systems as well as somebody that's been doing it for 4 years, right? Or more, right? You're like, oh God. You're just... It's scary to get involved in that. But in Throne and Liberty... Bro, it's a tab target, like how badly could you really do? Just to press on them and then start hitting the buttons. It's not that bad, right? So like, I think in this way, being a simpler combat system, again, helps encourage people to do PvP more because there's not as much of a gap.
or just various events where you have to collect a certain amount of mushrooms, wolf tails, etc. Some of them are guild folk.
Any chance you play Diablo 4? Oh no, I play good games. Yeah. I played Diablo 3. I was scammed into buying that game. And I said I would never buy another Diablo game again. I will, however, try... I've never played Path of Exile. I really want to try Path of Exile 2. The moment that it comes out. I really want to try PoE 2. because like I heard that is like the staple. Like between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 1, I'm pretty sure Path of Exile wins every time. Every review I've ever read has always told me that in terms of like a top-down, like circular running dungeon system with that kind of combat, PoE wins like every single time over Diablo. It's not even close. The only thing that Diablo wins in is its cinematics are abyss, and that's why we all get conned into buying the game. So I'm waiting for Path of Exile 2 so that I can deep dive into that game. I'm being honest. So I'm going to be all over that.
Focused. Some of them are free for all. Some of them they place you on different teams.
I
and
agree.
these
Story
go on
and
again
cinematics are
every
better
hour throughout the
in
entire
Diablo.
day. So the way that the gameplay feel will be in this game is you'll be doing your contracts and you'll go attend an event. You'll be doing a dungeon and then you'll go attend an event. You'll be doing a world boss and then maybe you'll go back to completing your dungeons. So the way that they have it organized is it feels like if you're actively playing the game, there's always something to do. And a lot of that, again, is going to be PvE focused.
And that's why, again, and I didn't think about this before and I should have said that. That's why all this time-gated content doesn't feel like time-guided content, because you're like, okay, I ran a dungeon, now I have to go to an event. Now I ran a dungeon, oh, I have to go to another event. I ran a dungeon, oh, another event. Right, okay, oh, now I'm doing my open world dungeon, oh, event. Right? There's just always stuff. Shit. There's always stuff. There's almost too much, bro.
You also have abyssal contract tokens, which is simply the Agris, if you're familiar with BDO, where you get extra loot as you have this currency build up. You have this bar you can notice at the top right. It stacks all the way to 20K.
He pronounced it like a kindergartner, but yeah, Agris it's exactly the same system.
Similar to what I mentioned in the past, if you don't want to play every day, you don't really have to. You don't lose out on anything if you don't log into the game every day. You can log in on your own time, and when you go out and you do this open world dungeon farming, there are a lot of dungeons that exist in the world. At nighttime, they become conflict. So currently, as you can see here, this is an outdoor or an open world dungeon. You go into this weird temple, and right now, as it's nighttime, it's conflict. So players will try to wipe out the enemies and clear out that area. In the daytime, anybody can farm there and there's no PvP. You have these points that you build up, you drain.
Okay, I'm just gonna, okay, this is completely off topic, but I do want to just say,
in the daytime, anybody can.
All you stupid that keep telling me that the morphs are garbage and they're not fun, look how cool this looks. I think that is wicked cool. I love seeing all of the birds flying in for a world boss. We're like, all right, boys, here we go. You know what I mean? Like jumping off the ledge and like turning into a bird. I think that's cool, bro. I love that shit. No, it's not a furry alert, okay? It's only a furry if you transform into the animal and you want to fuck it. If at any point you feel sexually attracted to the animal that you're turning into, okay, well, yeah, then you're probably for. Honestly, it's probably just bestiality, you know what I'm saying? But like being able to change like wild shape, that's something that druids do in World of Warcraft, right? And like those guys aren't all furries, right? Druid is fun to play. It's fun to shapeshift. Like, I guess that what's that? Baldur's Gate 3 kind of a bad example because you can have sex with a bear, but like that's neither here nor there.
Farm there and there's no PvP. You have these points that you build up. You drain these.
Being mounted on a dragon would be cooler. True. But what if I could turn into a dragon? No, being mounted on the dragon's cooler. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Okay.
Points by clearing out mobs and
Dracarys!
You get a ton of bonus material.
But you can't really do that though.
Despite me saying all of that, this is.
I don't know. I kind of want to be the dragon if I can't control the dragon. You know what I mean? I think that being the dragon is honestly kind of cooler. If you can't like tell the dragon to breathe fire on everyone, why are you even writing it?
Certainly a game that caters towards an audience that does enjoy PvP. You have arena modes, you have massive guild versus guild battles, you have open world events where players are just randomly taking each other out. You have huge boonstone battles where players are fighting over a point that will offer the claiming guild of that.
I'll be honest with you, I think we had the best riftstone on the server today, like that has ever happened. Ours was so close. It was back and forth the whole time. We're always regrouping out of zone. Everyone's trying new things. You know, the both shotcallers are kind of going at it. Both guilds had like close numbers, but like it was such a good fight, bro. It was so much fun.
that point, various stats while they control it. You have bosses that are claimed by certain guilds. It's called a riftstone. So if your guild claims that riftstone, they have access to another attempt at a world boss for additional loot. There is a ton of PvP to be had in this game. And again, for someone that's played years of WoW,
is Stoopzz in FTP? What guild is Stoopzz in?
You know, a lot of you guys know me for that. I find it to be pretty enjoyable, despite there being a lot of desync, as I mentioned earlier. It can be a little clunky and frustrating, but if you like PvP, VPVE type of content, there's so much of that in Throne that you can't find a lot of that in other MMORPGs.
Oh, we don't have this world boss yet. He's in Tanks and Liberty? Oh, wow. Oh, so he changed guilds? Ooh, that's kind of a slap in the face. That's crazy. Dude, we don't have this world boss. This one looks cool.
These nowadays outside of Guild Wars 2 or games like Black Desert Online, which recently they've been kind of shifting away from. So if you're someone that really wants that, you can find a lot of that in Throne. Now I want to touch...
Awakening Dosa is so sick, dude. Awakening Dosa looks so cool.
On the guild system in Throne of Liberty, because I have never played a game that has done guilds honestly as well as Throne of Liberty. There's a ton of things that you can be doing alongside of your guild, and this game certainly benefits people that play in a group. You can be a solo player, you can attend things, you can attend world bosses as a solo player, you can get loot as a solo player, you can do dungeons as a solo player, you can farm as a solo player, but it is most certainly a game that benefits players that play alongside a guild or in a group. And a lot of that can just be shown through the guild.
Yeah, Awakening Dosa came out today.
Merchant. When you do activities with your guild and you participate in guild events, you receive this guild currency that gives you valuable items, especially trait conversion stones that you're going to be using a lot. You get bonus materials for spending these guild tokens. So if you're not in a guild, you're going to be getting a lot less loot than somebody that is in a guild. So it's certainly in your benefit to play in a guild. Now, I know that's kind of counterintuitive to how MMOs are played nowadays. A lot of MMOs today are shifting away from this rely on other players model. Many players are looking for a solo experience, and I totally understand that. But this game caters towards that classic MMO feel where you need people.
Yeah, it's just a breath of fresh air because I've never really experienced a game like this. I'm going to be playing hardcore WoW next month with OnlyFans. I got invited to do the thing with OnlyFans. I've never played World of Warcraft before, and I'm going to be playing the hardcore version, so that's going to be fun. But like, I've never really gotten a chance, and I'm fairly certain that WoW is mostly solo player content. You know what I mean? Like, this is just an experience for me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always playing with other players. There's always people in voice having a good time, you know what I mean? Even right now, there's over 30 people sitting in voice for... Like, look at this. Look at that. You know what I mean? Like,
people in the world, you're going to be interacting with a lot of players, and it's in your benefit to do so, specifically when it comes to a guild. So hopefully everything in the video
that's not true. I've played some classic WoW. I wanted to get the Liadrin skin in Hearthstone because oddly enough, Hearthstone and World of Warcraft have a lot of the same characters. I think WoW copied Hearthstone. Sometimes I like to tilt people in my chat. But like, I just remember getting farmed by a giraffe. Until I finally hit the level I needed, and then I quit.
So far has already shown you what I meant earlier, that this game is going to be for a specific type of MMO player, and I don't think it's going to be a game that is for everyone. The next category is going to be one that I think is also discussed a lot and is something that will make the game not for everyone, and that is pay to win. Throne and Liberty, honestly, is absolutely pay to win. I can just show you straight up, I'm in a guild, and in my guild, this isn't the case for every guild.
God, he's got both BIS weapons.
The guild you're in, we have a GDKP system built into the game. Now, when you go kill a world boss, you can randomly obtain one of these world boss items that are extremely strong. If you're in a guild, the guild can set it to where that item goes to the guild bank, and then they set up an auction, and players use cash shop currency that is dispersed amongst the guild, and they bid on items. So
that we do not do that in Dismantled and Reassembled. We have like kind of a role system. It's not just like a pay to win thing in our guild, because we don't really like the fact that the game is super pay to win. So like in our guild, first of all, the best players do get the best weapons and stuff, right? But like, we hand it to the people who like, we go to the boss, and everybody that goes to the boss, if something purple that they want drops, we have all of those players that want it, that are going to use it, roll for it, and whoever gets the highest roll wins. Right? So, in theory, if you're in the guild long enough and you're active enough, you will get all of your gear without having to spend a dime. Okay? And we also sometimes just give it to like, hey, that guy's like a top fragger, he needs that weapon. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that guy is literally contributing way more to the guild than you. He deserves it. You know what I mean? So like, we have that kind of a system built in for us. It's a lot different than I think the way that Tanks and Liberty is doing it, and the other like FTP and all them. They're doing like the Lucent bid thing. And like, I'll be honest with you, I told the whales in our guild, we don't have very many, but and for obvious reasons, right? But like, I told the whales in our guild, I said, dude, if you're just gonna spend the money, go buy it off the auction house. Bro, the guild gear needs to go to the players that like play nonstop, that are really good at the game, but don't have thousands of dollars to drop. If you have thousands of dollars to drop on the game, just go buy it from the auction house, bro. So like, that was just my take on it. We do things a lot differently than everyone else does, though.
Both of these items, this one I bought from the marketplace.
We do the Lucent system as it gives back to the guild. I like it as a swiper. I don't like that very much because like, I mean, I like it in that everybody in the guild gets it. So like, let's say that you put it up for Lucent and somebody in the guild buys it for 17,000 Lucent, right? Well, then everybody else in the guild that contributed to that boss gets a piece of that pie, gets a piece of that money. And that's great and everything. But then only the players with the most money ever end up getting gear, which kind of sucks. When you could just have those players that have all that money just buy it off the auction house and then give your best players the best gear.
This one I bought from my guild is a world boss item. So you can straight up just buy gear and equipment. However, that currency is then distributed to all of the members in the guild and they can use that currency to then bid on an item that they want.
What did he get 5,200 Lucent for?
Or
what
do
the
anything
fuck?
else in the game. They can also go into the shop and buy anything that they want using that same currency. So if you want to buy the battle pass, which you had to previously pay for with straight cash in Korea, that is not the case in our version. You can buy any of these things by simply playing the game. In this game, everything revolves around this currency. The same goes for the auction house. All of these things right here are acquired by players. They then post it on the marketplace. A player that has earned this currency or purchased this currency can then buy that item from you, and you can see how the cycle works. So it's good for players that don't mind pay to win and want to be able to purchase things in the cash shop, or players that
it is pay to win. As I've said in many other videos today, it's about spend $15, play the game for an hour. Spend $15, play the game for an hour. That's the line for pay to win. Okay. But also, it's really friendly for free-to-play players because free-to-play players can get the battle pass and like the leveling pass every single month without spending a single dollar on the game. Because you can get Lucent via in-game, like just playing the game.
Just strictly don't mind pay to win and want to simply buy the items. You can't swipe for everything. There are things that you're going to have to go do and farm. You cannot get these dungeon items that I showed you earlier from the cash shop, or you cannot purchase currency to then buy them from other players. You can only get these through the dungeon. I have ran this dungeon for this sword and shield so many times and I can't get it to drop. And for some reason, I'm just cursed. So you will have to play the game. You can't swipe for everything, but
oh, damn it. He's only got the Chernobog sword.
certainly you can buy things that will give you an advantage earlier on if you want to get things done sooner. And so I've really structured this video and these points to kind of all build up off each other. And this is
you can get Lucent way earlier than level 50, yeah. Like you just have to play with a guild, and if you get like a really good item drop, like a blue drop, some of those sell for really good Lucent.
going to lead me to the trait system, which is in my opinion is the best and worst part of Throne of Liberty. The way you make currency in this game really is obviously selling items that you can, but you can also extract the trait off of an item, and that sells for a lot. You can see here that this weapon, this Chernobog's blade, has at the bottom, you see this trait.
Oh my god, he's got max trait for heavy attack chance.
When you get an item, you can extract.
Actually, getting the max trait for heavy attack chance probably not that bad. getting heavy attack chance is really
trade
hard.
off of the item and then post it on the marketplace for someone like me or someone else that wants that trait. So when you do these dungeons that I mentioned earlier, you were probably wondering, why can I get a bow if I'm playing great sword, sword and shield? The reason is that other players want the trait from this bow. You cannot sell the bow, but you can sell the trait off of this.
This is one of my least favorite things about the game. I hate how needlessly complicated it is to list things on the marketplace. Allow me to explain. There are two ways to list things on the auction house in Throne and Liberty, and I hate it. Okay. The first one is you have to extract the trait from a piece of gear. Okay. And you have to sell the extraction on the marketplace. So like if I grab this piece of gear here, I left click this, I click trait extraction right here. Okay. And then I can extract it. It's going to make it look like this with this border. And this is sellable on the marketplace. You can see it's worth 10 to 330 lucent or so. It's actually worth a decent amount. Like, that's great, but like you have to have these trait extraction stones in order to do that. You have to buy that from the abyssal vendor. There's a lot of steps that goes into this, but this is the easier way to do it. The other way to do it is have to craft a lithograph, which in order to do that, you have to be in a major town and like go to like the weapons vendor or the armor vendor in that town, scroll down to the bottom, get all the lithograph mats, which means you need Rubiks, you need scrolls, you need all kinds of stuff. And then you extract it, you've got the lithograph, and then you finally get the lithograph and you go to post it on the auction house and somebody just keeps undercutting you the entire time. And you're like, what's a lithograph? This is the weapon itself. This is the weapon itself. Or the armor piece itself you can craft. So you get the lithograph and then it allows you to craft the armor piece because that's like the limiting factor that allows you to craft the armor or the weapon piece that you need, right? But like if you just buy a weapon here, and this is really confusing for players as well, which is why I hate this. Right? Somebody's like, oh, I want to extract Duke Magna's provoking warblade. Oh, I want this weapon. So they'll click on this and buy this thinking that this is the weapon. This is not the weapon. This is the extract. This is one of the traits for the weapon. So you can't even equip it. You could buy, like you buy it, you can't even equip it. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. It's just, it's needlessly complicated. And like, you can't just like open your inventory and be like, oh, I just want to list this piece of gear on the marketplace. Can't do that. You got to jump through like 2 or 3 extra hoops in order to get that done. It's very frustrating.
This bow, and some of the traits, especially early on, are worth a lot.
Oh, that's for 3,200 and get undercut by 6 people. Yeah, dude. The first time I made a lithograph, I was supposed to make like $160 worth of lucent. You know how much I made? $20. Because I just kept getting undercut all the way down. It's miserable.
Of players want to trade out their weapon, and so
you can do that if you get a special drop. Yeah, okay. So there's like this 1 in 100 chance on top of the 2 in 100 chance that you're actually going to get the drop from whatever boss that you're killing or dungeon that you're killing, that the weapon will drop as something that can just be listed on the marketplace. So you're talking a 1% chance on top of a 2% chance. Yeah, good luck.
And place that trait onto your weapon. The way you naturally get these traits is...
And then to make matters worse, what you end up doing is you're like, okay, well, I'll just disenchant all this gear. Well, you're griefing yourself again, because you should be slamming the gear into each other via the transfer system, or not the transfer system, the trait system. You should slam this gear into each other and then disenchant it, because you get way more for doing this. But the game doesn't explain any of this to you, and you're just griefing yourself and you have no idea. Like the game, there's so many easy ways to just completely screw yourself. You know what I mean? It's just really frustrating. For a good game, surprisingly bad auction house system.
If you get dupes of the same item. So you can see here right now, this is the Carnix bow, and these are all of the available traits that exist on the Carnix bow. So
yeah, so like right here, like these are all the traits, but a new player, they're not going to know any better. They're going to be like, oh, here's the bow. This one's cheaper than this one. Why would I spend 2K when I can just get 3 set? They don't know what the hell's going on. They can't even equip this damn thing. It's just a trait.
If you are trying to fully bis your character out, you're going to want heavy attack chance, critical hit chance, or hit chance. These are the traits that you'd want. And you can see here, like this one's selling right now for 2,000 lucent, which is around $40. So if you get one of these, you can place it on the market.
No. Okay, this is extremely misleading. Okay, so like, all right, for the extract stuff, yes, It's pretty easy. You just extract it and you list it on the market. People are going to undercut you. The marketplace PvP is insane. But do not think for a moment that that's how it works for lithographs. Okay? I don't know if he explains lithographs, but like lithographs, you need Rubik's, which is extremely expensive. The Rubik's required to make one lithograph for a weapon is at least $20 US worth of lucent. So if you're not making over like what 2,000 lucent off of the thing, okay, well you're griefing. Well, what if you're making 2,500? Still not making enough money because the marketplace tax is 22%, I think. So you're gonna get market tax 22% minus 2K lucent off the top. You shouldn't be really selling anything as a lithograph unless it's like 4,000 or 5,000 lucent at a minimum. At a minimum. Because the marketplace PvP is so cancer. There's so many stupid people. The Ameritards that play this game, I swear to God.
And try to sell it to another player, then you can then buy your own gear and do other things in that way. So traits in general are a little bit convoluted. It takes a while to understand. The reason why I said it's the best part in Throne of Liberty is it allows for a ton of crazy customization, and you can see all of.
I don't understand lithographs. Okay, I'll explain it to you in 60 seconds. Okay, lithographs are really easy. I didn't understand it at first either, but I will explain it to you. And this is why this system kind of sucks. It is a blueprint, yep, to craft the weapon. So basically, I'm at Stoneguard Castle right now. This is where I know that you can do this. That's why I'm coming here. But like, if you want to make a lithograph for a weapon, you come talk to the weapon crafter. Then you come down to the bag thing down here. In order to craft the lithograph thing, you need to craft this thing. This is what you need right here. So you need 20 precious parchment, 50 enchanted ink. You get the ink from the Abyssal contract vendor. You get precious mana steel from all kinds of different stuff. Usually it's your Amatoys and whatnot, and like just doing various things out in the world. Precious polished crystal you get for doing contracts and all kinds of stuff. This is the serious problem, is the precious Rubik's. Again, you need 10 precious Rubik's to get, this is about $20 US worth of lucent. That's 2,000 lucent. And then again, you're going to get marketplace taxed by 22%. So if the item is under 3K lucent, you're probably going to lose money. So if it's, as long as it's over 3,000 lucent, including marketplace PvP, you know, and having to undercut each other, just be careful about making lithographs. You make this thing, you right-click the lithograph in your inventory, you click craft, and the weapon just turns into the lithograph. Boom, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. All right. For armors, it's only 5 Rubik's. It's less expensive. It's half the price. So if you look at the armor one, it's 5. Well, actually, it's okay. So it's 5 of the gold shit. So it's 5 of the Stalin. So it's a little less oppressive for this one. But Rubik's is extremely expensive. It's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. I lost buying Rubik's. Yeah, and then the marketplace tax. It gets a lot of players. They just don't understand.
Of the stats here.
They think it's like a get-rich-quick scheme. Like, oh, they see the number 7,000. They're like, that's so much. And then they have to get the Rubik's. So they spend $20 to get the Rubik's. So they buy all the Rubik's that they need. They make the lithograph, and then they list it on the market. They're like, okay. And then they wake up in the morning, and now the item's only 5,000. So then they list it for 4,500, and then 6 hours goes by, and then now the item's 3,500. And now you're like, oh, shit. So then you list it for 2,700, and you end up losing money. It sucks.
There are so many different stats, and there's so many different builds that you can make for both PvP and PvE. And by allowing you to trade in different stats, it allows for a ton of customization that makes the game extremely fun. So that's really how a lot of the income farming goes, how you make a lot of money. You run your dungeons, you extract traits, you sell them on the market, but there's no denying.
Extracting traits is the easiest way to get money off the marketplace. I don't really recommend lithographs for the reasons that I just said. The extracting thing is really easy. You just go to the Abyssal Contract Manager and you just buy a bunch of those things. Here, I'll show you. You just buy a bunch of these little these red eggs. Come over here. Do you have to buy the Rubik's, or can you craft and grind them also? You can grind them, but it takes time. The best place to get them is the Ant's Nest, in my opinion. And that kind of sucks. But like the higher level dungeons do drop Rubik's, but it's really low drop rate. So this contract coin merchant right here, you can get your coins from here. You can buy 420 of these a week. costs like 25 or so per extraction. Extracting blues, they're different for every extraction, but like, yeah, on average, like 25 per. So you can buy these with your Abyssal contract tokens. I mean, not just your contract coins. These are coins you get for doing contracts, as far as I'm aware. And you can just buy those, and that's how you just use the extract stone, extract the trait, and then sell it on the marketplace. That's the best way to make Lucent and the most efficient way to do it. And it's also the simplest way. Making the lithograph is a get-rich-quick scheme that players do not understand unless it's a fantastic weapon or armor piece.
If the game is pay to win, how much that bothers you is up to you. In terms of PvP, this game is extremely rock, paper, scissors. The way you build out your character, you can't be strong against everything. I'm currently in a full evasion build, but I get melted by magic spells because I just can't fully commit to magic endurance. It's a stat that I just can't commit to because I've gone into melee evasion. So even if I'm super powerful or strong, and I'm playing a very strong build right now, I'm one of the strongest classes or combinations in the game. If I run into a magic user, they absolutely melt me. And a lot.
This is a part of what makes the game approachable for players that aren't just like Giga God gamers and older boomers, which like MMOs more, is the really simple combat system and the fact that you can hard counter people, even if you're terrible at the game and were born with 4 fingers and everyone else has 6 more fingers than you and just can play better. It doesn't really matter because you can build, like, because of the way you can customize your build, you can still be relevant in PvP. And you can still like tank really hard and kill people, depending on what build you go. You just got to be a thong. You got to think.
A lot of the combat is large scale, so you don't get that same impact that you would find in like a 1v1 scenario outside of arena. I feel super strong in arena. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I obliterate people in arena, so keep that.
Yeah, I want to try arena, but I'm a free to play. Oh well, not completely free to play, but like I've not paid to win for my gear or anything. But like. I want to do this because I think it'll make me way better at small scale.
That in mind, if that's something that you enjoy.
I have 7 fingers. Huge.
All of that really leads me to my final grade of the game. I might make a follow-up video of the game as I play it more or extensively, but I have played it a lot. I would give Throne of Liberty a grade C or an average. Now, I know that might seem harsh for the people that...
That seems kind of low. Personally, I think that my Throne and Liberty grade is like 7. I think it's a 7 out of 10 or so. It's got its negative factors, but like as far as how it appeals to me, I would give it a 7 out of 10 overall.
Really enjoy the game, but I would say most...
Isn't that a 10? No, isn't that a C? No, that's a 70%, which in America is passing. We don't like to use C's in America. Those are just A's. Those are A's. You guys got to understand, I was a teacher, okay? Kid gets a 70%, A+. Because you're punished if you give them a C. You're punished hard, because it's your fault that Clara was sniffing glue in the back of your classroom. So 70% is... Great job, Clara. You're the best glue sniffer in this room, you stupid bitch. 7 is a C. Yeah, but sadly in the American public school system and just in the American school system in general, it don't feel like a C. That feels like you're above average. Because everyone else around you is... It is what it is. This is the world we live in. God help us all.
MMORPGs that launch in...
7 out of 10 no longer feels average. It feels well above average, especially in the school system. So like... I suppose he says C. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But like, C on his system, he's grading on like a 1 to 10 scale, right? So he's going 1. He's on a 1 to 10 scale. A C would imply that it's an average game. That's like a 5 out of 10, right? It's not based on like the school system scale. In the school system, if you're getting anything below like 60, you're failing, right? So like, but a C for him would be average, right? It's kind of a different way of looking at it, I think. Like a 7 out of 10, in my opinion, is like an above average MMO, right? But based on a school ranking system, yeah, technically that is a C, but like, I mean, what are we giving Concord? But No Child Left Behind except for Concord, I guess? They got a 1 out of 10, but we passed them because fuck it, I don't want to lose my job, right?
In this landscape are
A C in Canada is 60%. That's because you guys are stupider than we are. It's insane.
below average outside of the ones that have been around for like 10 years. And I think for someone like me, at least I can only speak on my behalf. I like playing new games with new experiences. I can always go back to playing World of Warcraft or another game that I've played, but there's nothing like a new MMO launch that is very exciting to me. I get super addicted and I really enjoy that feeling. As I mentioned earlier, this game is absolutely not going to be for everyone, but I do think for the people that it is for, the people that do enjoy that old school MMO feeling that you experienced maybe back when you played Arcade or Lineage, you can find a lot of that in Throne of Liberty. And despite all the negatives that I did mention in this video, I've enjoyed my time a lot. I can't really put the...
Oh my god, I just realized I IGN'd everything. Okay, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. 6.5. I can't give it a 7. I can't give it a 7. I can't give it a 7. Then I'm just IGN all over
game
him.
down. I've had a ton of fun playing alongside of my friends. I don't usually get to do that in other MMOs outside of like instanced content, and there's so many activities that you can do in a group that make the game really fun. The world does feel alive. I do think there's some things that they could do to improve the game, but I don't think this is a game that can try to cater to everyone.
Most Americans can't point out America on a map. My dude. I once had a student do this to me. Keep in mind, this was an honors student. Honors student. I said, "Where is America?" And she said, "Right here, because this is Florida." You can't make this shit up. It's actually just crazy. This is where we're at. I once had a student that literally, I had these cryptexes. You guys remember a cryptex from here? Cryptex. Boom. These things from the Da Vinci Code. They spin and you can put like riddles behind them and stuff. I made a riddle. Okay, keep in mind, it was this cryptex right here. Okay. Oh no, mine had 6 letters. Yeah, it was this one right here. Okay, so 6-letter cryptex. All right. And I would put riddles on the board that the students had to solve, right? And if they opened it, they got a prize. W, right? So Mr. Blue, I thought I had it. I'm like, "Oh, what'd you try?" "Biology." It's gonna be a long year. One of my honors students. Okay, I looked at the cryptex. God is my witness, bro. Okay, biology. Brutal. I said, "I want you to take that down to the English department right now because they have so much work to do. I'm only the science teacher. I'm not responsible for this. I'm only the science teacher. It's not my fault. It's not my fault."
Everyone. Ultimately, I think it's going to be a bit more of a niche game, but for the people that do enjoy the game, there isn't really anything quite like it on the market today. There's a ton.
And that was our top 10% student, by the way. 33 on the ACT.
Of different content that I didn't get to mention or really mention in this video, like the secret dungeons, which are like solo dungeons that you can do. There's challenge mode dungeons where you can do like a Mythic Plus style system with a leaderboard where you do timed clears. We have Shroud here as the #1 server clear for this challenge solo dungeon. There's an expansion on the horizon with Talandry where a huge portion of the map will get unlocked. So there's a lot that I didn't get to mention in this video, but I think I did a good job of giving you an idea of who this game is for and whether or not it's going to be for you, which is totally on you and what you're interested in or what you can tolerate or what you find enjoyable as an MMORPG player. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it, found it informative or somewhat entertaining. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
We love Stoopzz. He's an incredible MMO creator. Go support him. I think he's streaming right now too. There's the video right there. Go interact with the video. Have fun with it. I thought his takes were pretty fair. I thought his takes were pretty fair. I think that Lazy Peon had a little bit. I disagreed with Lazy Peon a little bit more than I disagree with Stoopzz. Stoopzz and I see eye to eye on Throne and Liberty on a lot of stuff here. On a lot of stuff.